Welcome everyone to yet another episode of Disabled Girls to Lift, whatever. Anyways, thank you to our lovely Patreons for supporting us on disabledgirlswholift.com/Patreon. And it's a great way to stay in shape. This is Marcia on South Florida land, Seminole Tribe land. Pronoun she, they. We got Marybeth on deck and a guest. Let's get it popping.
Great way to stay in shape. So we gotta put a caveat there because it's okay if you're not in shape during this 2-year pandemic. Marybeth, she, her, from Northern California, here sitting on Ohlone land, and we're super stoked to be having Monica Enlow with us today here in the West Side, Los Angeles, California, sitting on Tongva land. I looked that up this morning.
That's sounding.
28 years old. What got me super excited is that she did NCAA water polo in college. And like a lot of us discovered powerlifting and what it does to our mental and physical strength. She's currently a construction worker. After getting her mechanical engineering degree from Caltech. Damn, you bring so much to the table. Welcome. Oh, also mixed Korean, Black, and white. We love our mixed babies coming to the podcast. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. That was a very nice intro. And I'm so glad you looked up what land I'm on because I did not. I have no idea. I learned something new about California history every time I hang out with one of my former roommates because she's born and bred in California. And so she always has a fun nugget of California history to drop on me. So.
I love that. I love that. Oh, yeah, I mean, I was raised in LA for 18 years and I had no idea. It's such a big land too.
There's
a lot.
And
there's a lot.
Connection is not always there. You might not even see the indigenous folks. You might not even ever know one. And then you're just like, this is California. That's all it ever was, right?
But hello, it was Mexico for such a long time. Y'all forget.
Yeah, something about the mission signs that are posted, the San Gabriel Mission. And then you're like, ooh, we should maybe take those signs down. Those are in bad taste now. No one likes the missions anymore.
Wait, what do you mean mission signs?
Oh, so in Southern California, the way it was settled by the whites was through missions, through priests coming out and setting up missions to convert the indigenous people.
So the name of that is still...
Yeah, there will be signs around, like you're driving on the freeway and it'll be like the San Gabriel Mission. Yesterday or Friday I was driving and I was like, oh yeah, no, we should take that sign down. Missions are bad.
Damn, that's literally all over California though. Like in middle school, elementary school, we were taken on these field trips to visit these missions too.
Yeah.
What the?
Big yikes. Wow.
Yeah, it's like when they talk about like plantations in the South and you like don't put it together and then like you see folks go on field trips to like a plantation and you're like, that's not okay. We shouldn't be doing that. Like, yeah, there are Black kids here. We shouldn't go to the plantation.
Yeah. Well, and the way that you're telling history from a certain perspective too, right? Who's leading the tour?
As someone who took God knows how many years of Georgia history, for some reason, the Civil War didn't seem that bad. And then it wasn't until like later in life that I was like, oh yeah, no, that was really bad.
That was not a good time.
Why don't we say actually how bad it is? Like there's so much there that we just kind of gloss over. And like some memories, like one particular history class I took that was like, oh yeah, and there were nice slave owners that gave their slaves like nice accommodations and didn't beat them. And I was like, reflecting on it now, I'm like, yikes. Like we have so much to undo. Like the fact that we teach kids that there were nice slave owners.
Yeah.
No. We need to cut that completely.
Yeah, that's pretty trash. I'm sure.
It's like the not all men.
Yeah.
Hashtag not all slave owners.
Not all colonizers, okay? Some colonizers just wanted land and then they made it nice for everyone. Gosh. I'm sure you have to unlearn a lot of that. And I'm sure that's probably even worse if you're mixed in all different things, right? And
You
chronically
gotta
ill
unlearn
from birth, or is that like a later thing?
Yeah. So when I was like 9 months old, I was diagnosed with asthma. And so I spent 2 stints in the hospital under 2 years. The second time I actually had to be like airlifted into a hospital because they were like, oh, she's blue. Well, here we go. So I had asthma as a kid. So the whole steroid treatment, nebulizer, everything like that. And then it wasn't until I was in college, I was 20, when I was officially diagnosed with UC. So that is my chronic illness journey. And there's probably something else wrong with me too.
Oh,
God knows what.
nothing ever happens just one at a time. But I'm just curious because we way earlier, like some way earlier episodes, we were talking about how we deal with all these parts of ourselves separately, right? Like we just deal with like when Mary Beth was younger, she's just like, I'm just gonna pretend to be Mexican. I'm not even gonna deal with this Asian thing right now. I gotta deal with this arm thing. Like that's too much, right? Like you just like tuck something away and you're like, all right, this is what I'll deal with for right now. So I'm
100%.
how that went.
I actually had an instance this past weekend, yesterday, in fact. Earlier this week, my buddy, a fellow Black person who attended Caltech, if you've ever seen Hassan Minaj's skit talking about the like 7 Black kids who went to Caltech between like 2011 and 2016, hello, it's me. And this is one of the other ones. My buddy who lives across the street from me. And he was like, hey, are you going to the like Black alumni lunch over this weekend? And I was like, I don't have the energy to be Black this weekend. So I'm just not gonna be Black this weekend. Because that's a whole emotional thing. There's a lot of stuff. It's going to be people being upset and angry and trying to be happy. And I'm like, I just don't have the emotional energy to be Black. And it was like, especially after this past year, seeing all the different phases of like, what are you going through now? It's like, okay, Black, Asian, chronically ill, woman.
Yeah.
Okay. Which one of those things is going to cause the problem today? Like, how am I going to address this? It's like in college, I was given the choice. I either got to be a woman or I got to be Black. I either got to be involved with the women's stuff and go to the women in engineering things or whatever, or I could be Black. And unfortunately, the university needed me to be Black more than they needed me to be a woman. And so I eventually took over all the Black clubs as like a junior and senior when my buddy graduated.
Because there was only like 7 of you, right?
Yeah. And it's like, congrats, I'm the elder Black person on campus. And if we're checking, I'm a quarter, right? And so it's like that kind of visibility. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm Black for the foreseeable future. And then showing up places and being like, oh no, I work in construction. I'm the only woman. Like first jobs, like a couple jobs ago when I showed up on site, like they had to be like briefed and no one spoke to me for like 3 months because I'm the first woman that most of those guys had ever worked with on site. And they were like terrified to say something to me, say the wrong thing to me. They were like, well, if we can't say what we want to say, then just won't say anything at all. And I'm like, guys, I'm just a person, just like, I don't know, your wife or like your daughter or your sister. I'm not an alien. You can just talk to me and just not be really, really freaking weird about it. And so it's like, okay, well now I'm woman And then
You can only
like
pick one thing.
Mhm.
and then it's like, okay, when can these things coexist? And when can I like embrace each of these things as like part of my holistic identity and not have to be like, no, today I'm Black. No, today I'm Asian. Today I'm a woman. And today we're advocating for the chronically ill. Like those things are all, they're all me and they shouldn't have to be separated. And I shouldn't have to approach them in that way. But I just feel like people aren't ready to embrace the holistic approach to dealing with individuals.
Well
Not
put.
quite. People don't want to have to think that hard. And they're like, I already can't understand one part of you. Now you want me to understand how many?
Mhm.
I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Like that's what it comes down to. People don't like being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
At dating in Los Angeles, that is my current struggle of being like, listen, I am a complex person, not to say that other people are not complex individuals, but there's a lot of layers built up here and like, not to say traumatic experiences, but there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of backstory and it's like having to get through that to even get through a date with someone to be like, no, it's not that simple. Like, it's a whole thing. I don't recommend dating in Los Angeles.
I'm pretty sure that's dating everywhere, but
Well, I mean,
I
it's
wouldn't
so
know.
hilarious. It's hilarious because shouldn't we be used to it by now?
It's 2021.
California is quote unquote diverse. Los Angeles is even more so, but when it comes to, when you're talking about like the men in construction who feel so uncomfortable with their presence, is it because, well, yeah, obviously like they see you as a woman, but when they find out that you're also Black and you're also Korean and you're also chronically ill, it's like, oh, all of a sudden they lost their safe space to speak freely about how misogynistic and racist and sexist they are. And that is like a discovery that a lot of white men and men in general are not ready for.
Oh,
But,
100%.
grow the fuck up.
They like showing up
Life
and
has
then
been
being
easy.
like, yeah, being like, oh no, I can't say that thing. And it's like, good, you shouldn't.
Right. Yeah.
Sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, I'm not willing to compromise. Like I'm going like at this point, I maybe am I allowed to curse on this podcast?
Yeah.
Sure, please.
Okay, sick. I've run out of fucks to give. And like I've run out of the like caring. I've stopped caring about how speaking my truth and being who I am makes other people uncomfortable.
Yeah, but we should
right?
have never cared. That's like the bigger problem. The
Well,
fact
they
that
don't-
that's like a
they don't-
realization and an announcement, right? Like so radical
Yeah.
to say.
Well, they don't teach you that when you're a mixed kid in the South
Mhm.
and everyone else is white and your mom's the only Black person in the entire neighborhood. No one teaches you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole thing to unpack. And when you like get there and you're like, wow, and you're like, wait, this is how white men just be living?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How I applied to my last job. I remember when I was looking for the current job that I have now, the CEO reached out to me and he knew me from a previous job. He reached out to me, asked me to apply. I clicked on the website. There were 2 postings listed. One was for a representative position. One was for a manager position. Instinctively, I clicked on the rep position. And I was like reading it and I was like, okay, yeah, this seems reasonable. And then I was like, wait, hold on. White guys, men in general, will apply to a job even if they barely meet 50% of the qualifications.
Oh, most definitely.
And so I was like, screw this. And I clicked on the manager position and I read it and I was like, I mean, like 70%, 80% of what's on here. I can do this. That's why I was like, okay, I'm going to apply to the manager position. What are they going to do? Say, you know what, Monica, you're not qualified to be a manager, but we do have a rep position available. Like that's the worst thing that happens. Or I just don't get the job. Whatever. I have a job. And then I applied, interviewed, and I got it. And I was like,
This is
Damn.
how that happens.
Mhm.
It's like
Make
just
space, bitches.
yeah. Like
This is
the
how
fact
that
is,
happens.
I'm like the only person in the world who does my particular job, and I'm like damn good at it, and people
There it
can
is.
kiss my multi-ethnic ass
There it is.
about it. So
I'm with you on that. It's pretty ass backwards though, because like you don't have anywhere to go for that feeling, right? Like you came from like all these white dudes that just basically feel like you should just be like, oh yay, thanks for having me, right? But then if you get like super black, super, surrounded by people of color, then it's like, oh well, be your own boss, don't let the white man do this for you. Then you're just like, but what if I do want to, where am I supposed to go? It's like
it's just
hustle
all white
culture,
men.
or just say please white man. Like where am I supposed to go?
And I'm so tired. Hustle culture is so tiring. Like I'm a girl boss, but man, this is so exhausting.
Yeah, no.
I need sleep.
Hashtag girl boss.
Like that TikTok audio that's like, I'm afraid I may have girl bossed a little too close to the sun. That's how I feel these days. I'm like, oh no, oh God. Like I realized very recently, since switching my meds, that I need like 8 hours of sleep a day. Like for sure, 8 hours of sleep. If not, my UC flares, and I am sad. And so then it's like, okay, well, I work 10 to 12 hours a day. I need 8 hours of sleep, and it takes this long to drive. And now I have 30 minutes of free time to myself to relax and do hashtag self-care. Like the hours are just not adding up these days. And I'm like, okay, thankfully my company has unlimited paid time off. And they mean it. Oh yeah, we're about that, like mental health, everything like that. And I'm big into it. And my CEO is also very supportive of like, hey, you need to take a day off. Like you need to take time off, take your time off, just disconnect, turn your phone off, don't worry about it. And so like having the ability to do that and being able to say like, okay, no, they respect my time. I'm going to take this time for myself. That has been insanely helpful for me very recently.
But that's new.
That is new because I work at a startup now. And so there's that freedom. And for 2 years, I was working in a more corporate culture environment. White boys in Patagonia vests and Gucci loafers kind of thing. And being in like the construction division of a company like that is quite interesting. But it was a great job. My manager was insanely supportive of me, and the head of my department also, because I actually was hospitalized when I started that job. 2 months into starting that job, my UC spread, and I had no idea what was going on because the symptoms manifested themselves differently than when I had first been diagnosed with UC.
Wow.
And so I had no idea what was going on. And they were like, you need to go to the emergency room. And I was like, okay, I'm pending a test. If I go to the ER, it'll expedite getting my CT scan. So fine. And I went in and they were like, all right, here's your bracelet. So yep. And I was there for a week. And I was like, oh, what? No, I just came here for a CT scan. Why are you admitting me to the hospital? And I ended up losing like 30 pounds in like 2.5 weeks because I couldn't eat anything. They put me on 60 milligrams of prednisone a day. And it was the most miserable between that, the Norco, the muscle relaxer, the anti-spasm medication to try to get through it. So I was effectively a vegetable for about 2.5 months after getting out of the hospital before I was finally able to get on Remicade and have the Remicade actually start working for me.
What's Remicade?
Remicade is a biologic infusion drug. And so I started that which the process to get infusion meds for chronically ill folks or any one of these Stelara, Entyvio, Remicade,
Well, we've heard a
Humira.
few about MS. I don't remember the names, but that's a whole ordeal.
They're without insurance, one dose of this medication, just the medicine, list price is $30,000.
Yep.
So without insurance, without processing the claims, without doing all that fun stuff. And by the way, now you need a separate facility. You have to go where like this drug has to be administered in like the same facility that like chemo patients get their chemo infusions, right?
Yeah.
And at Cedars Sinai here, because I'm a proud member of the Cedars Sinai network of doctors. That way I don't have to explain my medical history and it's all in one database. They have their ambulatory infusion center, which is like without insurance, 15 grand to just go there and sit. Okay, sick. And then all your after 2 months of working with your insurance company to get it approved and everything like that, you finally get it through, and it's still $650, and the hospital makes you pay for parking because they don't validate.
Oh, God.
Which is that's the straw that broke the camel's back.
No, that pisses me off. Like I have to pay to park here to pay you some more. That's some bullshit.
I'm like, it's the biggest scam because every person who goes into that facility is stuck there for at least 3 hours to like 1 hour because you have to go in, you have to get screened. Yeah. And so that you're there, that you've got them for at least 3 hours and they don't validate. And you're like, oh, okay, so now it's just $10 an hour for me to park in your facility. Like you guaranteed $30 every time from cancer patients.
Yeah.
Like most of these people are cancer patients.
Should be illegal, honestly. And the fact the fact that they charge you like a hospital rate for something that you're not staying in the hospital for should be fucking illegal too. Like that makes no sense to me.
Yes.
They should have separate clinics.
Giant scam. It's not even just separate. It's just the fact that if you go to a hospital for an appointment, whether or not you stay in the hospital, like she said she stayed for the week, right? Or she's in and out one day for the infusion, they're still going to charge the hospital day rate. Should be illegal.
It's the American healthcare system is broken.
Yeah, it should be illegal. So like so what happened to your gains after that? There's no way. You're like barely lifting a bottle of water after that. What's how long ago was that too?
That was 2019.
Not that long ago.
Oh wow.
It's not that long ago. I am like still feeling the effects of, that and what that meant for essentially wiping factory reset is what happened. Like my whole ass fell off my body.
Oh no.
It was gone. Like none of my pants fit because I was a plank. I was just flatter than a board. And I was like, this isn't okay. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. And I remember the first day going back to the gym with my friend, it was like that October, probably late September, that I went back to the gym and I went to unrack the bar to squat. And I remember unracking something that to me is like second nature. Like I've never not been able to squat the bar. And I remember squatting it and it was so hard to get back. I didn't think I was going to be able to make it back up. And I just just the empty bar. And I like broke down. I was like, oh my God, what has happened to me? Like, where did it all go? This is like, it's such a huge part of my identity and now I can't do it. So catch me at the gym crying on the squat rack because I can't squat the bar. And thankfully, once I was able to start eating and actually just moving again, it got better. And within like a couple months, I was back to squatting, 2 plates. Like I bounced back pretty fast after that, but it was still that like
still
shock.
Slow going.
And you said you were down 30 pounds. Like, holy shit.
Yeah,
I was down
where'd you
30
go?
pounds, and then I boomeranged very quickly due to the prednisone. Was like, hey, by the way, you want to eat potato chips all day?
Yep, that pretty. That
So-
pretty.
He
So how many
really,
assholes were like, oh my God, you lost some weight, Monica?
You look so good.
amazingly, no one said
Oh,
that.
thank the Lord.
Oh.
Because like you could tell in my face, I was so swollen from the prednisone, right? So in my face didn't look the same as what my body looked like, right? And people like, if anything, this is going to be a low key moment here. My mom is the only person who commented on whether or not my weight loss looked good. And when I was like, oh, I can't wait to like gain my butt back, and she was like, no, it's fine. Like you look really good like this, and blah 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 blah. And I was like, this is not the flesh sack that I want to exist in. Like this one sucks. And she was like, no, just don't eat too much, just keep the weight off, blah 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 blah.
Yikes.
And I was like, I look like a skeleton. Like
Yeah.
and so
Moms and aunties.
yeah,
Oh, God.
my mom was
the right weight.
is a victim of toxic 80s diet culture. In a way that like, you know, you want to look like Cindy Crawford in the 80s fitting into a size 4 Calvin Klein jeans. Like that does things to you. And it takes a lot to unpack body image and all of that stuff. Because, you know, I was even looking at old photos of myself from like 2016, 2017 at times where I was like, I remember taking the photos being like, I look big like this. I look puffy or whatever. And I like thinking about it now. I'm like, damn, I would pay money to look like that again. Like this COVID weight and like the tummy I've gotten just because of trying to work on my own disordered eating habits and trying to like separate myself from diet culture over the pandemic. That's been like my personal project is really working on that for myself. And so I'm sitting about, 15 pounds heavier than I like to sit. And I'm wondering, and now I'm in the phase of like, why is it that you want to sit at like 153? And why is it that 168 bothers you so much?
Like, what is the number doing to you?
Yeah. What is that doing to me? But it's working through that and not recognizing myself, right? That has to be one of the hardest things about
changes.
Yeah. Chronic illness. And it was when I was diagnosed at 20, I was in college and I put on the freshman 50. I gained 50 pounds my freshman year. There were cookies at 2 a.m. every
meal
day.
plans.
Yeah.
The free events, the pizza parties.
The alcohol.
And the alcohol and the depression. I was so depressed. I was failing all my classes. I was just depressed as shit. And so I gained 50 pounds. Then sophomore year, I, through unhealthy methods was starting to lose it. I took about 25 pounds off throughout the course of my sophomore year. And it was between sophomore and junior year that summer, I was like, okay, I'm actually going to start eating right, working out. Well, it started with me being like, I think I'm allergic to something. Am I allergic to soy? Am I allergic to hummus? I don't know. Let's try an elimination diet. Then I started just shitting myself uncontrollably. I couldn't walk to campus without having to stop 3 times to go to the bathroom. And credit to my best friend / college roommate who was like, hey, Monica, that's not normal. You need to go to the doctor. And I was like, no, I'm fine. It's just like an allergy or something. She's like, no, you've lost like 20 pounds in like 2 weeks. You can't, you are shitting yourself. And I was so proud too. I was like, oh man, look at all this hard work at the gym finally starting to pay off. Like, look at me go. She was like,
what am I eating?
Honey, no, that's not what's happening here.
Yeah.
Bring it in, Monica, bring it in.
I was like, what? Okay. I was like, oh, fine, I'll go to the doctor. well, I go to the campus health center and they're like, maybe it's parasites. And so they test me and they're like, not parasites. And I had another doctor who was this really racist Russian lady.
Nice.
And she had a med student with her. And over the course of this particular appointment, she made the med student cry. And then the med student
appointment.
In my appointment.
Okay.
She made the med student cry. She also, every time I walked in, would be like, you're Black, right?
What the fuck?
And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, and you go to Caltech? I'm like, I don't see how that's relevant to this appointment. And she'd be like, oh, so how's that work? Every appointment. Every appointment.
Was she expecting you to explain affirmative action or something?
I think so, but like Caltech's not an affirmative action school. Like that's unfortunately Caltech's not an affirmative action school. We could do a lot more there if it was. But yeah, and so, but thankfully this appointment, she was like, after the med student comes back in and is like, and I'm like, it's okay. I think you're doing great. This doctor comes back in and is like, so based on everything, like she's like exhibiting signs of something probably like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. And the med student's like, yeah, okay, like and she's like, so what do you need to do now? And I was like, refer to a specialist. Like, lady, like, can we take it easy on this poor girl? And then
I worried about that too.
No, and I was just like, so I go to the nurse in the front who's to refer me to a specialist at the hospital in Pasadena, where I was going to school. And I get there and I can hear the nurse on the phone. She calls the specialist office like, hey, I have someone who needs to get in to see a doctor ASAP. Because at this point now I'm like bad. Yeah. Like real bad. Yeah. And the nurse is like, patient, gives them my date of birth. And I hear that there's just a pause. And I hear the person on the other end go, she's too young to have you see.
Ugh, classy. I said what I said.
And this nurse, like, I am thankful to this nurse and this nurse alone for
pushing
her work. Because she goes, if you do not get her in to see one of these doctors when they're off rotation within the next 3 days, she's going to end up in the hospital under one of those doctors on their rotation. And that's going to be on you.
Woo!
So you better get her in. And I expect to get a call from you about the doctor's availability when they're off call. And you are going to get her in to see one of these doctors. She will go to the hospital if necessary for an appointment with one of these doctors. Shit, but she will be seen this week. And I was like, and the person on the other end was like, okay, I guess I'll just get the doctor. And like, you could just hear like grumbling on the other end. And the nurse was like, that's what I thought. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your help today. Bye.
Oh my God. So unexpected from a college campus nurse.
Yeah. And well, so this was actually my private practice nurse. So she's like actual nurse lady. And she's like, and she turns to me and she's like, okay, sweetie. So,
oh my God. Like, she just like turned that off, bitch mode, and disengaged.
And she was like, so the specialist office said they're going to call you with some availability of when the doctor can see you. And I was like, I was right here the whole time. You don't have to pretend. I heard you on the phone. Like I heard you. You were mean to the lady.
More of you. We need more of you.
And I was like, okay, yeah. And sure enough, within 48 hours, they called me. I was in to see the specialist. He put me on, oh gosh, the Apreso. So the like melsalamine pills and like the Ulcerative, which is like a targeted steroid, specifically for like GI issues. So he put me on that, and that pretty much took, because I was very localized. Oh, no, I had a colonoscopy in that too, which was brutal. There's nothing like 2 weeks before finals, having to do a colonoscopy prep.
Yes.
And your friends are like, what you doing? And I'm like, I really don't want to talk about it. And then that's when I got my diagnosis, got on the medicine, ended up having a severe reaction to the medication.
Damn.
Within the first like month of me being on it. Had to go to the ER because it was when I got back to campus after winter break, because I'd been on the meds about a month. And then that I had a reaction, like between the stress of being back at school and stuff, I had a reaction to the meds. They sent me to the ER because they thought I had meningitis.
Of course.
And so I am delusional. I am sick. I am having a reaction to these meds. And they're like, and I hate, oh, by the way, I cry. I cry at the doctor. If I like going to the doctor, going to the ER, sitting in a waiting room by myself, I will start crying. I hate it. I can't stand going to the doctor. As someone who's been to the doctor their whole life, I still cry every time.
And this whole time you've been like going to these clinic visits by yourself. You've been alone this entire time as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
By myself.
a lot.
I had to figure out UC alone. It's not like I had someone take me to the appointments. It's like I had to walk from campus to the doctor's office, hoping and praying. Like, shout out to the day I realized I should probably be buying Depend underwear from the store. And I bought like the anti-diarrheal medications. I bought the Depend, anything that I thought might help. And I was at the checkout line and there was this like grandma behind me in line buying the exact same things I was buying.
Yeah.
Little old lady looked at what I was buying, looked at me, looked at her pile, looked back at me, and I was like,
Don't want to talk about it. Don't
talk to me about this. Just let it go.
And she minded her business. She minded her business and didn't say anything to me. And I was like, good. Because I could tell she thought about it. She thought about saying something. And then she was like, I will not say anything.
Welcome to the club, honey.
I was like, yeah. And I was like, and so it was like, okay, here I am, 20 years old in college, supposed to be #, living it up, having a great time. Wasn't having a great time. It was brutal. And I didn't tell anyone. I had friends, I have college friends who did not know I had a debilitating chronic illness that I was diagnosed with in college.
Yeah.
Until like several years after, I was like 25 and like on a trip with them and was like, oh yeah, like that summer that I almost died and this, and they were like, what?
No, because everyone's going to assume college, or she probably just drank too much. It's probably alcohol poisoning or something.
Well, yeah, they also
and move it.
They knew I was like really into fitness, right? Like I work out a lot. I played NCAA sports, and so they just figured like, okay, Monica just got her health in order. That's why she lost so much weight that summer. Because I went from being, 175 pounds to 145 pounds.
That's too
right.
much.
And you could tell, if you look at the difference between me, like my sophomore year of college versus what I look like my end of my junior year into my senior year, you can just see it in my face and everything, my arms and so it was a thing that most people just associated it with my lifestyle, right? Because it makes sense. It's oh, she's really into fitness, she put on some weight, oh, she just worked out, ate better over the summer, lost the weight. There you go, right?
Good on your roommate for catching that and saying, hey, it's only been 2 weeks. That's a lot of freaking weight loss.
Yeah, she, without her forcing me and being like, no, you need to go to the doctor. I wouldn't have gone.
That's all it takes.
Because I was convinced that I was just allergic to something, because at the time my mom was finding all these new allergies that she was having to foods, and my sister was finding out that she was allergic to gluten and eggs and avocado and soy and nuts and whatever else. And so I was like, I'm probably just like them, just probably allergic to something.
Easier too, right? that has an answer to it. That's the other thing. You're gonna
Yeah,
cling on to something that has an easy, I'll just find out what it is, then I'll be fine.
Mhm.
yeah, and
That's that's the end of that thought line.
and I wish even now I went to an allergist this past year, because the past year with the stress of 2020 and everything else, like I did have a flare. Like there is nothing more fun than figuring out a new side effect of ulcerative colitis flares is that your legs swell and
Nice.
can swell to be like twice their size.
Oh my.
And so I couldn't walk for a few months of 2020 because my UC was flaring and it caused my legs to swell up so bad that I couldn't walk.
You
Not
only
like I
have
needed.
so much space in your abdomen. You're like literally that bloated and that swollen up that you just block blood flow. Like your body can just
It
do that when it feels like it. Like Jesus.
Yeah, and it wasn't until I actually went to, because I went to my general practitioner and I was like, hey, what's up? She was like, I think you got a spider bite on your leg. So she gave me antibiotics.
Easy.
The antibiotics did not work.
Yeah.
Shocking. And so she was like, oh, you probably need to go to a dermatologist. Well, my dermatologist is a Black lady. She is awesome. And I was in her office and she was like looking at my leg, and she actually did something that not a lot of doctors seem to do when you walk in for an appointment. She read my chart and she read my history. And so she's looking at my leg. She was like, okay, like let's do a biopsy and like see what's up. Like I'll have someone come in to take the sample. And then she stood there at the computer and she was like reading more. And she was like, wait, were you just at your GI doctor? And I was like, yeah. She's like,
The meme with the
and she's like, hold on. And I'm like, oh God. She leaves. And I'm there and I'm just like, and after like 10 minutes, she comes back in and she's like, so we're not going to do a biopsy on your leg. And I was like, what do you mean you're not going to do a biopsy on my leg? But I just kind of looked at her. I didn't say it, but that was my internal thoughts, because I don't say anything when I'm at the doctor. Why advocate for myself when I could sit there in silence? And so I was like, yeah. And she's like, this is your UC. She's like, you need
UC
to go.
calling.
She's like, yeah, this is, we see this a lot with pregnant ladies when they have stuff. But we also see this sometimes in chronically ill patients. So folks sometimes with arthritis, Crohn's, something like this may happen. She's like, you're having a flare. Like you need to go, you need to go back to your GI and you need to get on you need to get on steroids. And I was like,
thanks, bud.
I guess thanks. But like she figured it out in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, no, just a little critical thinking. So you don't have a rheumatologist. Your main manager is the GI.
Yep. My main manager is my GI doctor, Dr. Theodore Stein at Cedars-Sinai. Shouts out.
I'm guessing it's someone that knows about immune stuff then, because the GI doctors that I've seen are like, yeah, all right, well, I just do this part. You go see a rheumatologist if you think it's everything. Goodbye.
Yeah, well, he's a specialist.
Okay.
And so he's like the head of GI over at Cedars. And like I think he's on the board or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but he is very high in the management and stuff at Cedars. So the only reason I got an appointment with him back in like 2016, I hated my old doctor because my other doctor was like, you just need to eat bland chicken and rice and no spicy foods, and then your UC will get better. And I was like, shut up, white man. And I was like, this is clearly not how doctors should be. There's got to be something better. And so I called Cedars and I was like, hey, is there any chance that I can get an appointment? And she was like, I don't know. Like, none of our doctors are taking new patients right now. Everyone's booked up. And I was like, okay, well, put me on the list and call me if there's a cancellation. I live like 10 minutes away, so I can be there in 10 minutes if you call me. So just let me know. Thank you. Later that week, she called. She was like, hey, one of the doctors has an opening. Get down here. And so I showed up and I'm sitting in his office, and he was like, he opens my chart to like take notes, and he's like, wait, are you a new patient? And I was like, yeah, they said you had a cancellation today, so I came in. And he was like, I'm taking new patients.
So that at the moment, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and he was like, okay, sure, what's up? And he like just goes with it. He's like, all right, like I guess you're here now, so here we go. Then we, got on it, and he took everything down and was like, okay, like, no, this is what it is. Like, if we need to reassess your care and, like what we're doing as far as your treatment, like we can do that. Like, there are other options. It's not just throw these pills at you. Like, you have other options. So like, we can have those discussions. We can be open about the conversation of your care. Because he's like, I don't want you to be in a flare. I don't want you to continue to have predictable flares. Because turns out I get a flare every time I start a new job. And it's real bad. It turns out capitalism really stresses me out. And so trying to figure out what to do to mitigate that. So he's always been very reasonable in approaching my care. Sometimes, just like with any doctor, you're just frustrated that like you feel like you can't get your point across. You're like, no, it's this thing. And they're like, no, it's this thing. And you're like, no, I live here. I live in this thing. No, it's this. And they're like, but the test results. Yeah. He's like, but the test results say you're fine. And I'm like,
this test doesn't feel fine.
Bullshit. I was like, I'm not fine. The reality is I'm not fine. So until I feel fine, I'm going to keep coming back here and bothering you. So either you make me better and we fix this, or you see me every week. This is your choice. You have a choice.
I'll be back.
He met my mom when she was at the hospital with me. Okay. He met my mother. And so now my mother is like, is he taking care of you? Is he? I'll come. Tell Dr. Stein, I'll come. I'll and I'm like, and so one time I was like, Dr. Stein, don't make me call my mom.
I'll do it.
And he was like, okay. I was like, I'll call her.
And also, like, doctor, I've been doing this for 5 years now. Come on. 5, 6, 7 years.
I got notes, right? Buddy.
Yeah.
I got this all down. Come on, let's figure this out together.
But that's really good, because Cedars-Sinai is a really good hospital, or a good group of hospitals.
That's the big thing over there.
Yeah. And I knew people that were on the wait list for years before getting an appointment. So
I mean, good on that lady for actually calling back, because there's tons of assholes who ask to be on wait lists and they never call back. I set like reminders on my phone to call them back, and they're like, "Oh yeah, just kidding." So, fucking assholes.
Oh no, I'm so annoying. Like when
have to be.
And that's the worst part.
It's like a part-time job.
Yeah, and thankfully, like during the pandemic, when I was like switching my medications and like a whole bunch of other stuff, like being at home made it so much easier to like care for myself, because it wasn't like I was like hiding in the bathroom at work or being like, okay, I gotta go out to the parking lot and sit in my car for 30 minutes so I can yell at some schmuck on the insurance company phone to be like, fucking approve my shit, you stupid assholes.
Yeah,
like
it's
you've had this for 3 weeks, why isn't it approved? So I will say that, like, on the one hand, pandemic bad. On the other hand, work from home good.
There's some things that are good and some things that are not so bad. But before we continue, we're going to take our quick commercial break, which means if the folks are watching on YouTube, they're just going to watch us stare at the screen. All right, we're back. We did it. We did it. Yes, we did it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
it's oh wait. Well,
No.
but hold your thought. You got it. Don't lose it. Great. No, because I just wanted to share real quick because you're talking about this insurance thing and calling people. I just shared with somebody and they didn't ever do this. I have like my own fax number and I will literally get my referrals or documents faxed to me so I could fax it to the next person myself because I got tired of the offices taking weeks to do it, right? Or the other office being like, well, we didn't receive it. Can you call them back and ask them to resend it? Because then I could be like, no, bitch, it was October 3rd at 2:19 p.m. Fax successful. Look again. Like the fact that I have to do that.
The fact that you in 2021 have to own your own fax machine.
Exactly.
Like, number one.
It's online now, thank the Lord.
Yeah. I
like,
still have records.
Why can't we just
faxed.
use email? But whatever.
Yeah. But it like the fact that you have to do it and the fact that you have to have your own receipts and that you have to do all this stuff. Like I was just telling a friend, I was like, I feel like some days I need a personal assistant.
Definitely.
To do the things like pay my medical bills, call the insurance company, handle my car registration for me, like just stuff that you're like, oh, I am exhausted. Like, hey, by the way, like 3 weeks ago, I guess now, I had to like take my Stelara like injection in my office at work because UPS couldn't deliver it to my home address and then wouldn't leave the package and then the ice melted on my Stelara. And so I got my refrigerate ASAP time-sensitive medication 3 days after it had been shipped. And I was like, ooh, we can't delay. We just have to take this now and hope it's still good right now.
Oh my gosh.
Like, so we're just going to go into the office at work. I went into the nursing room because we do have a nursing room on our floor. And I take my injection. It's a needle. So I'm like, sharps container.
None.
And I was like, okay, there's none in here. I go into the women's bathroom and I'm like, sharps container? No. I go to the people. I'm like, hey, is there a sharps container in any of the bathrooms on this floor or like the other floor? And he was like, a what?
Yeah.
You want a Sharpie, hon?
And I was like, no, I got a used needle. I was like, I need a place to deposit this. Is like, do we not have like a sharps container where like, folks with like diabetes, like people who need to do like injections and stuff, like shots for them to deposit? They were like, oh, I don't know. And like, keep in mind, this is one of those like we work type spaces where, during Pride Month with their little LGBTQIA plus stickers, everything, inclusivity. And I'm like, hey, I want to let you guys know that disabled and chronically ill inclusivity is a thing as well. And I was like, you guys, like, here, let me check. I'll ask the building if there's any sharps container. So he goes to the building man. He comes back like 15 minutes later and he's like, hey, so I can take you down the freight elevator.
Oh shit.
To the loading dock.
What?
Where there is a place for you to deposit that. And I was like, so you're telling me, who just took medication because I am sick, that you think me going down the freight elevator to a loading dock to deposit my needle in that garbage can is, I was like, I will just take this. I was like, I will just take this home and deposit it in my own sharps container then.
Oh my God.
I was like, I'm just going to make a note to you. I'm going to put that on the next survey you guys send out that you guys need a sharps container.
I've seen that in public bathrooms, y'all. Get it together.
Yeah.
If McDonald's has one.
Yeah, you don't need to be a hospital to have a sharps container. Come on.
Yeah. Like if I can go to a McDonald's and deposit my needle, like we have bigger issues. But yeah, so that's my
big yikes.
Big yikes.
All right, Mary Beth, where were you at? You were holding it. You got it? Is it still there?
Oh, nope.
Oh, I told you to hold
That's probably a side
work
comment.
hard. You lost it.
I'm just curious about how the symptoms have changed in the last, 8 or some years now.
Oh gosh. Symptoms have changed in that since it's spread over the past 2 years, like the sensation of where it used to be localized to like my lower rectum was very like a very specific sensation, right? And so for 6 years, I had the knowledge that like, okay, when it feels like this, probably go to the doctor, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But now that it's spread and it affects a different part of my colon, amazingly enough, the lower part of my rectum is well controlled. So like they would do the scope on me in the office and they'd be like, there's no inflammation here. And I'm like, no, there's inflammation somewhere because I'm still shitting myself to death. Like somewhere there is inflammation because I haven't had a solid poop in like 2 months. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's not your lower rectum. And I was like, and it's higher up. Maybe we should go there.
There's more.
Okay.
But wait, there's more.
But wait. So that part, the medication I'm on, what I'm doing, that part's controlled. I'm not worried about my lower rectum anymore. What the problem is figuring out how to treat and how to get this, like the transverse colon. So it's like the part, like basically like right underneath your titties that crosses across your body.
Yeah.
That crosses where all the other organs are too, like your stomach, your pancreas, everything else. And so it's one of those things where it's like, does my tummy hurt? Is it my large intestine? Perhaps, maybe is it my... Because I've actually, like hunger cues, I have a problem with hunger cues now.
Mm-hmm.
If I weren't the type of person who religiously eats just like every hour, and is just constantly eating, because
no, I could relate. I have to eat by time. Like, wait,
you just
I should eat.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, thankfully I've like conditioned myself, and because I, was on the like powerlifting competition training cycle, like I've always, like for the past, many years, I was on a very set, like I eat in the morning, I eat at 11 a.m., I eat at 2 p.m., I eat at 5 p.m., I eat at 8 p.m. Like I have the set times that I eat. And so my body inherently, I am like, okay, just muscle memory, go to kitchen, eat thing, go to kitchen, eat thing. But on like, especially with this new job, now that I'm like working a lot more hours and like I'm doing a lot more, I'm traveling, I'm, like there are some days where it's like, what is this pain? Like, why does it hurt? And then I'm like, oh, it's 2 p.m. and you haven't eaten since 6. Like, you're hungry, you stupid hoe, go get a cheeseburger. Like, that's like having to be like, oh God, I eat this shit again. And like going through the drive-through. Yeah. And so it like, that's the main thing. And that, and another thing that's changed for me is the doctor used to be able to go off of my C-reactive protein as a measure of my inflammation. And so that's through blood work. So it used to be that my blood work was what would be like, oh, blood work's good, you're good. Blood work bad. Now my blood work that protein reactive count doesn't give any indication for my health.
Match how you feel.
Nope. And you know what does? Stool test.
Nice.
And it's
nothing like shitting in a plastic cup to start your day.
Like when you have predictable shits, that's one thing. But when your sample collection kit is at home and your body has just shits whenever it feels like, you don't shit at home. Like you shit at the sushi restaurant. You shit at the McDonald's on your way to work. You shit wherever the time strikes you because you can't hold it. You can't be like, oh, I have to poop. I'm going to hold it and then hopefully just poop when I get home. No. That's not how UC works. There's no holding it. There's either shit or shit yourself. There is no in between.
Nice.
Just carry your cup everywhere you go.
But you have to, no, the thing is, after you do it, you have to refrigerate it. Like, you have to freeze it. Like, and so it's either shit at the McDonald's and then go immediately from the McDonald's, be like, hey, sorry, Mr. Client. I had to shit in the McDonald's on my way to you. And I have to, like, either I have to take the sample home and freeze it.
I got to get my Tupperware poop home.
Yeah, like, I got to take it. And then I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just take my sample collection kit to work and keep it there. And hopefully at some point it'll line up. And then I was like, no one at the work communal office space wants my poop sample in the freezer at work. No one wants that. No, they didn't. No one there signed up for that. I was like, I feel weird and bad if I, like, even if I put it in like a container within a container in a container, I still feel weird putting it in the communal fridge at work. Like, and so I'm just like, well, one of these days it will line up and I will actually be able to poop in my own home and collect my sample and take it to the doctor.
Good time.
At that point, I mean, shit, I'd be like, I give zero shits. I'm already dealing with so much. Y'all have to deal with it with me. And you don't even have to know, you know, or they don't have to know.
They don't have to know, but I know. Like, I'm just like, it's like, yeah, here's someone's lean cuisine and that's my poop. Like, like it makes like having to explain to my roommates, like, granted, my old roommates, God bless them, took care of me, understood my situation. They're basically family to me at this point. And being like, hey, don't touch the mysterious plastic baggie. That's my poop.
Yeah.
And they're like,
got it.
I've had to do it for my dogs all the time, but it's like doggy bag, plastic bag, lunch bag, like a brown bag. Yeah. Don't touch the brown bag that says maple on it. But for us, we had to refrigerate it, not freeze it, which I'd assume would get rid of the smell.
Yeah, I mean, it does. Like, it doesn't smell, right?
Yeah.
I'm just
smell.
like,
it's just weird.
It's just weird. And
it's weird.
Can we name this episode "Let's Talk About Poop, Baby"?
Shooting the shit with Monica.
Oh my God.
I love it. I really do.
That's what we'll call it. Oh man,
low key.
Like, yeah.
Before we move on, speaking of poop, my Tinder profile right now, my bio literally says my shit may not be together, but that's just because I have IBD. That's what my whole last dating profile says, and I just leave it. So
that's great. Straight to the point. I think that's like peak IBD culture, right? Is like knowing what road is like that McDonald's is renovated, that bathroom's always clean. Great, check. This Wawa, shit, don't go there. All right, great. Yeah. Like you just have the map in your mind, like, oh, today I need to drive this way.
Yeah, no, my go-to is the Home Depot, the Lowe's. Because you know what's really clean at a Home Depot? The women's bathroom. You know what? There's a lot
I gotta
of
get
it.
I gotta get into Home Depot.
Empty.
Then.
That's true.
Because sometimes I go in the quote unquote hood, right? And once you get there, it's like the Chevron and the Mobile that's like the block, like no bathroom, only outdoor, the key.
Yeah.
The key with the big thing on it that's like hello everyone, I'm going to take a shit in the gas station.
There's no nice
bathroom.
Grocery stores there. It's a food desert. I'm not gonna go shit in a beautiful Publix. They won't be there. There might be a Home Depot in the hood though. I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah. I because I work with contractors, their offices are usually within the vicinity of a Home Depot or a hardware store. I don't know why. They could put their offices anywhere else, but most of the time they're within the vicinity of like contractor supply. So like you got a Lowe's or a Home Depot. Yeah. And Ace Hardware though, don't go to an Ace. No. It is, if you have IBD, not a helpful place.
And they're really small typically.
But they're smaller. Oh,
Yeah.
we don't have as
Yeah.
many down here. No,
That's
the
so funny.
McDonald's have to be the renovated ones specifically. Wawa's, you can't always count on them because that depends on the
Wawa's.
people. They're not always there.
That's a grocery store, right?
Wawa is it's a gas station that really started blowing up in Florida. Like they built a bunch because people like their sandwiches and like they have like a sandwich section, whatever, mac and cheese, blah blah blah, 7-Eleven. It's like a 7-Eleven, Subway plus gas station.
I see that.
Yeah.
That's so funny. This reminds me of like a bunch of posts I've been seeing recently. Tell me you're a home health worker without telling me you're a home health worker, knowing bathroom passwords at Safeways, Bonds,
Starbucks.
gas stations. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Starbucks isn't bad either because they don't bother you. Like, hey, do you have to buy something? You know, like you also have to know that, like the place that'll be like gatekeeping their bathroom.
I inherently have social anxiety, so I am like, I still buy something. Like even when I go to the gas station, I always buy something. That way they don't yell at me or like can't say anything to me. Be like, no. Do you see this coffee? Let me in.
Oh my God.
Nah,
but you're holding it for an extra 2 minutes.
Like,
yeah.
I mean,
if I go to a Starbucks, I'm gonna get something because I'm a basic bitch. But like if it's a gas station, I don't care.
Like, what's the password? Gotta go.
Just in and out.
What's the code?
I don't even make eye contact. Like I know where it is. I'm just like door open. Boom. That's it. Good morning. Don't care, sir. Don't care.
Don't speak to me.
I am a ghost. You do not see me. Yeah.
That's real talk though.
It's a vibe.
Yeah.
So are you actually allergic to anything?
No. Actually, the thing I am allergic to, I'm allergic to metal. So I don't wear any jewelry.
Oh, like skin reaction?
Like skin. So I got my ears pierced when I was like 8. It was a nightmare. Absolute, like was allergic to the piercing metal. Like my ears were infected for like a year and a half. And even now, if I wear like, I have to wear like platinum. If I wear anything like that pure, really expensive bougie ass shit, is the only stuff that I can wear. And it got to a point where over the pandemic, I was like, I don't care enough about wearing earrings anymore. I've given up that. So I just let my ears close up. So
they closed. Dang.
Yeah, they actually closed for real.
Yeah, like they are
Some
done.
Piercings are weird. Mine don't really close.
It depends how long ago you got them.
Yeah, but mine have always rejected the piercing. Like mine have never wanted to be pierced or just accepted it. So they were like, oh, thank God, finally.
This bitch finally fucking listened.
Get out!
It's been 20 years.
But what about to the touch? Because metal in construction, that doesn't make a difference.
No, I don't work with. I don't touch anything. I work a pretty job. I do. I show up and I'm like, hello, and then I leave. I don't actually interact with any of the like.
You tell them
stuff.
what to do with the stuff, but you don't do the stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that is. I work in product onboarding and customer success for an augmented reality tech startup for construction. So I absolutely do none of the work. I've never done any of the work. Have I had to work on construction sites? Yes. When I worked in construction project management, that's what I did. My office was my office was a makeshift shantytown box in the basement of a big concrete structure, where you're like, I could get murdered here. Cool. Like it was, and being like, yes, there's nothing more fun than having IBD and working on a construction site.
Woo, Porta Potty City.
Like, thankfully, my first real job where I was like on a site for my entire day, my project manager, great guy, still keep in touch with him. He's a good friend of mine. And he talked to the general contractor, because I worked for the plumber. So he talked to the general contractor that we were working for, because we had built the general contractor a nice office with running water and toilets. But that was only for the general contractor. No one else was allowed to use those bathrooms except for Monica.
That's right.
And so these dudes in this other office would and they had like a couple girls working for them, but none of the other contractors had a woman working for them on site. So it would just be me, and I would our office was on the 3rd basement level, and their office was on like the 1st basement level / ground level. And so every time I had to go to the bathroom, I had to run up several flights of stairs.
God, no.
And then it'd be okay, here. And I would just slink into this office, use the look around, make sure no one sees me, and then slink out. And for the longest time, I remember it wasn't until they they saw me at the bar one day, this company saw me at the bar across the street one day, hanging out. They were like, "You seem nice." And I was like, thank you. What? They were like, "Oh no, you just, every time you're in our office, you look very angry, and you just kind of walk in, you speak to no one, and then you leave." And I was like, "Yeah, because I got a job to do. I'm not here for social hour. I'm here to use your bathroom and then leave. This is my office. I don't know you people. Who the fuck are you? Leave me alone."
See, take that same energy to the gas station. What's happening? What's going on?
The gas station is
right. There you go.
Take
You ain't
that
got
same
a
energy.
coffee.
The gas station is scary. For some reason, I'm always scared that the gas station is gonna be like, "No," and then pull a shotgun on me and be like, "You will leave now." And I'm like, "Okay, you know what? Fair enough."
Whose hope? That's not even real. What are you doing?
Well, no, think of
This
it as
is
they don't give a
the
shit.
narrative in my mind that I have crafted, that if I don't buy something, the mean gas station man he will smite me. I just can't live with that.
Do they have signs outside of the bathroom?
Lord.
Some of them do. Yeah, some of them, and it's especially in LA, right? Trying to keep homeless people out and stuff like that. It's very understanding which, and the policies change too. I remember going to a place where I had previously just walked in and used the bathroom, and 2 weeks later they were customers only.
Jesus.
And I was like, "Ah! Here."
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm buying a Snickers bar. Let me into your bathroom."
Yeah. Fun times.
I don't know if they're doing this in downtown LA or just central, larger cities, but we've had it a lot more in San Francisco, where they're building very large, very nice porta potties, where even the big door, I don't know, just really nice. It has a sink inside. Free. They clean it every single day.
And that's just a public on the street bathroom.
And it's public because homelessness is really, big in San Francisco as well. It's just you got to provide it for them, or they're going to shit on the ground. Where else are they going to
do stuff?
Use the bathroom? Yeah.
Nuts.
Or just privacy. So I hope LA just picks something up like that.
I mean, that would be a great reallocation of resources, but how can we do that when the LAPD budget is how many billions of dollars? I mean, what? I'm sorry.
It makes no sense. Yeah. The homeless people keep shitting in our bathrooms. Give them bathrooms. No.
Yeah. Well, a big thing with COVID,
it's a them thing. If that was your aunt shitting on the street, then you'd be like, "Oh, that's not fair."
But with COVID, people are donating, food, water, but then also hand washing stations, because all of a sudden they realize people got to wash their fucking hands.
Yeah, everybody can put sanitizer up now. Right?
Not to mention the women that need to ovulate publicly,
Yeah,
folks menstruate, guys. That's a thing. Hello.
Yeah,
There's a lot of moving parts there.
Too many moving parts. Too many moving parts.
Literally.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, if your business is all over the place, are you wrecked every time your cycle is on? Then how does that work out with your symptoms?
Yeah, I just am sad. Like that was this past week. So I
check out
because my anxiety gets so bad when I'm on my period. It's worse now than it's been in a long time. But my period is like this, like the week before and like kind of right when my period starts, I go through this just like mega anxiety of like everything I've done is wrong. I'm gonna get fired.
Crap.
I'm like I spiral, and I have to tell myself that it's just temporary. Like this, like you're not gonna get fired. You're not. But I work myself into this tizzy, and then once my period like hits, I go into like vegetable mode. Like you can have a full conversation with me, and I'll just like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I am. Mm-hmm. And so this past week, I've actually been offboarding the guy who works on my team because he's transferring teams. And so like right now I am like so busy. I'm doing like 5 people's jobs right now. Like I need to hire, if anyone knows anyone who works in augmented reality and construction, hit me up. Drop my handle anyway. So I've been offboarding this guy who has his own set of customers and everything like that I've been like, overseeing, but not day-to-day involved with. So essentially my to-do list has just tripled in size without any warning. And so like I get my period and it's like, okay, no, you need to be on site at this contractor. You like, congrats. It's 85 degrees in Los Angeles in October and you have to climb up 5 flights of scaffolding so that you can be on a construction site just bleeding. Mm. And also you have to be happy and bubbly, and also you're cramping and you feel like you have to shit yourself, but congrats, you are up 5 levels of scaffolding. Like, better hold it. Hope it works out for you and hope you can make it to a bathroom in time. Like it just, so it's one of those things that like, on my period, it's so much worse because, the ordinary woman has period poops.
Yeah.
When everything cramps. And so it's just this extra fun, like, ooh, additional pain. Is it stomach? Is it colon? Is it the uterus thing? Are we doing that? Is it, so I just kind of like, I had to tell my coworker, I'm like, listen, I'm gonna be doing all this stuff. And like, I just will let you know. I'm not here right now. Like I am the meat puppet of Monica, but like here we are checked out. I am like essentially my brain crashes after the anxiety that I have. And I just go from like here to just nosedive into the ground. And I'm like, I'm just trying to get by. Like if I can just get through the day, if I can just sit at the desk and send my little emails, like that's it. Like, I'm just trying to like scrape by.
I hate that that's like a double standard for women in management or people in management, people in construction. It's just like men are allowed to be grouchy, grumpy, quiet, silent, whatever the fuck. And they're seen as mysterious or caring about his work or a leader versus the bitch. The bitch would be a resting bitch face that doesn't say hi to me. Like, I'm just trying to use the bathroom.
Yeah. And like, I tell them, I'm like, listen, if I don't do that, guess what? Every man will on that site will be like, oh my gosh, hi. They all want to talk to me, right? If I invite they're like vampires. If you invite them in, they'll come in and stay and they'll suck you dry. And so I don't have time to have a conversation with every person I pass on a construction site or whatever. So, and like, especially when I was working for actual construction companies, like that was more my thing of like, I'm minding my business. I'm here to do a job. This is my job. Talking to you is not part of my job. So leave me alone. And people be like, oh, she's so short and so this. And I'm like, do you want to talk to me at length? Because you have stuff to do too. Do you want to, we can chat about, I can ask you about your feelings. And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, okay, then shut up. Just leave me alone then. But now that I work in a customer setting, it's very much my my job is designed for a true extrovert, and I am an introvert.
Yeah.
And
sounds
so
like peak cringe for me right now.
yeah, and so like this fun little Apple Watch that tracks my heart rate, calories burned through the day on days where I'm with customers or I'm talking to customers, I hit my move goal, even if I'm just sitting at my desk, because it registers that my heart rate and my persona, I am on. And so it just tracks that. And like some days it'll be like 1 p.m. and it's like, you hit your move goal for the day. And I'm like, I was sitting at my desk for 4 hours talking to customers. So I haven't done anything. But it's like, hey, congrats, man. You have anxiety and your heart rate says you've been working out. And that's like, now I still have to be able to turn it on. And when I am with customers and stuff, it's like, hey, I am on, this is it. But the fun code switching of when I'm with my coworkers, and even when they see me on calls with customers too, like they could be on a call with me like after that one, and it'll go from me being like, hey, thank you so much for joining. Like, I am so excited. Okay, so this is what I have on deck for today. Did you have anything that did you have any questions at all? Okay, well, perfect. So I'm going to send a follow-up email and we're going to outline all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. And then next call, I'll be like, don't send me an email. If the email has more than 3 lines, I won't respond to it. I don't care. What do you want? Tell me what you want.
Yeah.
Is it this? Okay, great. Awesome. Glad we had this call. Bye. And in like 10 minutes. Whereas I'll talk to a customer for an hour. I will talk to people from my own company like for 10 minutes and be like, is this it? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. It takes a lot. There's some jobs that are really not meant for us. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how. I'm ugh.
Very, very carefully. Because I genuinely love the work and I love what I get to do. And when I'm out interacting with customers and seeing, the different breadth of work that they do. But it's one of those things that like people have to, like in my personal life, I have to tell people, I'm like, no, I'm an introvert. So when I'm at work and you see this persona that I am, and it's like, hey, like, let's go to happy hour. Let's do this. Like, let's do that. That's me. That's me doing business.
Hell no.
When I come home, fucking leave me alone. Like we're sitting on the couch, we're watching TV. Date? No,
That's
not.
My favorite. That's my.
I'm not
favorite.
Going out.
You never come to happy hour with us. Yes, and I never will. Goodbye.
I just worked 10 to 12 hours with you. God.
Once I pass this threshold, do not speak to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like no. Well, we're gonna.
Can I just ask
tonight?
really quickly? I feel like this comes up a lot on our podcast. This topic on disclosure, and I love that you have it on your Tinder bio or whatever dating platform you're on right now, and how openly we talk about this like here today, but at work that's definitely a different setting. You're working more by yourself, or does it not matter in situations?
So my last job, I lost the luxury of being able to hide it when I got hospitalized.
Right.
Because they like straight up, it was like, oh no, there's something wrong with Monica. And so at that point I had to tell them, be like, this is why I went to the hospital, just to give them some more context of like, hey, by the way, the reason I went to the hospital, it's not like my appendix ruptured. You take out my appendix and I'm better. I'm like, this is something that doesn't go away. Yeah. And I don't know how long it'll take for it to get under control to be better. And I said, so, setting the expectation that it's not like, oh, I went to the hospital with a busted leg. They, splinted and I'm off.
Cured.
No. Yeah, it's a whole lot of mystery and it's different every time and it's not predictable. So I lost the luxury of being able to hide it. At the job before that, hid it. I barely even disclosed it to a partner I had who we almost got engaged. And I never really disclosed how bad my UC was when we were together.
It sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh, a nightmare. Is that what you said?
It sounds like labor.
Oh, labor. Oh yeah.
Like that's too much effort.
Or there are days where you just don't want to fucking talk about it. Like, let me just live.
No, but the effort of making sure that they don't really see that part of your life is the labor, I mean.
Yeah. And you know, I wish that like intuitive nature to see me struggle to be like, no, babe, I'll take you to your doctor's appointment. Like no, I'll cook dinner. Like, no, it's like, why can't you see that I'm struggling? It's like, no, I've done such a good job of living like this and making sure that no one sees it, that no one sees it. And so at my current job, when I started, I was still in a flare. I was changing my medication but we were still working from home. But I did disclose because I was like, listen, here's the deal. We're still in a Pandarosa.
Mm-hmm.
And
still in this pantomime.
Yeah, like this pen will say really be hidden. So I'm like, and I'm on immunosuppressants. Like, so I'm not leaving the crib like until I feel safe. And that was part of my conditions for hire, is that my CEO talked to the investors and they were like, even if she has to work from home for a year because the pandemic is still bad and like vaccines, like whatever that means, like they were willing to be accommodating for me. And when I was like, even within the first, 3 weeks of me starting, I had to take days off. And which I felt so bad, but here I am. I am miserable. I have to go to the doctor. I have to go do this, do that, test results, you name it, get blood work done. And so like, I was taking days off after I had just started, and like, they were like, okay. And I was like, what do you mean? Okay. They're like, you can't work unless you're healthy. And you are the most, like, here are the things that are important in your life. You, your family, and your personal life. And like down here is work. So focus on these two things, and you are the most important thing. Focus on that. Like, take as much time as you need to like go to the doctor or whatever. Don't worry about it. Take care of yourself. And so, my coworkers, and that was a condition for me coming back into the office because my CEO knows I'm, on immunosuppressants. Everyone in the office had to get vaccinated before he would even consider the conversation of me coming back in.
That's awesome.
And so like the understanding of, also that like the travel and what that means for me, and, the kind of situations I'm willing to put myself into, and situations I feel comfortable, or like times I don't feel comfortable. Like one of my coworkers, anti-vax, and didn't respect my wishes to keep his mask on when he went with me to a customer. I straight up told my CEO, I was like, listen, we need to, like, this was not okay. And my CEO said, noted. Like, you make the call, tell him, like, then he's not allowed to go anywhere now. We're not having that discussion. We're putting our foot down. And this is what it is. Like, we're going to respect you. We're going to respect your health. We're going to respect the health of our customers.
The customers. Yeah. Shit.
Yeah. And we're like, this is the policy. It's like, this is not open for discussion. And so like,
that's awesome that you have an actual support.
Yeah. It means a lot. And I know a lot of people aren't as lucky and privileged to have people who understand. And even for me to, say like, even for me to get a box in the office on a Thursday to be like, okay, I'm gonna, I have to go take my medication in the bathroom now, where I'm gonna have a mental breakdown because I'm afraid of needles and I don't like needles, yet I have to self-inject this medication. So I'm gonna go cry in the bathroom. I'm gonna be back in like 30 minutes, okay? Sick. And they're like, okay, yeah. And they like, at this point, I'm way more open about talking about my experience. And I kind of, sometimes I make light of it, being like, God knew if I weren't shitting myself to death, I'd be too powerful. So he had to give me something. And that's like, I make light of it, but it's, my way of trying to integrate that and instead of me compartmentalizing that part of my life, remembering, yeah, remembering that that's still a part of me, that like I have to consider that part just as much as I consider the fact that I am Black, or that I am Asian, or that I am a woman. Like all these, like that's still a part of me. And while it's not as like
Obvious.
It's not as
other
obvious, and it's also not as like raw, like not to say rah as like Black Lives Matter, right? Like, listen, people who have chronic illnesses and who are disabled are tired. They are on literal medicines to like suppress their bodies. Like the idea that this community as a whole can continue to advocate for themselves and to like do all that work themselves.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot. And like being in a position where I can talk about it and be like, because I consider myself not as bad, not to say that I don't have it and like my experience should be minimized, but like I don't have it nearly as bad as some people do. Like, and so I have the ability and the energy to at least talk about it and to make people aware that this is a thing that people around them are dealing with, and to be conscious of it in a way that, you know, they don't want to think about it. Like, so people don't want to think that I have a chronic illness.
No, that people don't want to be uncomfortable. It's
it
easier
doesn't
for
fit a
our
narrative.
brains. It's easier for our brains to not have to expand perspectives. You just keep on moving.
Yeah.
Well, and you don't look like the average disabled person. What? Like
you're too young to be, you're too cute to be, you're too this to be. Like, yeah, they have to unpack that, and that is just too much. Nobody wants to deal with that.
And I asked that too because, like, yeah, for one, there are accommodations needed, whether you're at home, you know, or in the office physically. But also, let's normalize the shit out of this. Today versus 10 years ago probably would have been a little different. It's like, or pre-pandemic, right? This whole work from home situation, nobody's heard of it before COVID. Like, we've been asking for this for such a long time.
Yeah. And it's like, it congrats, productivity didn't go down. Like your capitalist contain people to monitor them, like the prison industrial system, like for no reason. So that I can sit in a 68-degree office all day because there are a bunch of sweaty dudes who require it to be 68, and my joints hurt when it gets below 74 in an office. Like, I don't need that. I don't need to be there. Like, I can do the same thing without having to FaceTime. Like the pandemic is great because it normalized, like, because it's something that like I wish I had been able to do, like on mornings where I can't, like some days are better than others. Some days you get out of bed and you're like, I have all my spoons today, sick. And there are some days your alarm goes off and you go, oh God, I have 50% of the energy I need for the day.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? And the fact that I can now say, I'm going to take my first 3 meetings from home, come in the afternoon, or, hey, I'll go do that thing in the morning, go to the customer, and then I'm going to work the rest of the day from home. Like before, the jobs I was working, granted, were definitely more like desk typey jobs, because unfortunately, construction project management, when you work on a construction project, it really helps to be on the construction project.
All right.
And so, but like now it's this thing of like, even then there were days where it was not a requirement for me to be there physically.
No,
like there was no
forever
need.
Every day that you have to be there just watching people or being watched by people. Like,
yeah, and
not that deep.
Yeah, it's not that deep. And I'd be like, hey, I'm gonna, like, not to say I like abuse the system a little bit, but because I worked from the site and I worked from the office on occasion, sometimes people didn't keep track of me on which location I was at. So some days people, like the office people, would think I was on site, the site people would think I was in the office. I was at home. So it, like, just because it was like, hey, my
I don't
alarm
need
went
to
off
be anywhere.
at 5:45 this morning,
Yeah.
and my body said, yo, can I have a sec? And I said, okay. But, and then it goes, no, we really don't feel well. You're like, sorry, you need to be at work at 7:30. Sorry, you're not getting to work till 9.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the reality. That's just what it is some days. And I wish it was more predictable to be like, yes, on Mondays and Wednesdays, I have no energy. On
No, it's
Tuesdays,
not
Thursdays,
predictable, except
but
mystery.
it's the super fun thing of not knowing what your life is going to be like from day to day.
Except mystery. Yeah. Whenever I have times that I have to actually be somewhere first thing in the morning for like a succession of days, like that wrecks me. Absolutely wrecks me.
But I like
Yeah.
this idea.
Everything.
Seems like a new idea that more and more bosses are losing that power and authority over their employees. I mean, rightfully so. It's just, we don't need to be stuck to a desk for 8 to 10 hours a day for 5 days a week.
Yeah, you don't
As
need
long
to
as
be
we're getting our-
micromanaging and like
Right.
staring someone down and
You
looking
don't
at
need
their
a-
computer screen. Oh, we got to block
Mhm.
these websites. Like,
Mhm.
if somebody
Cameras
gets
on
their
you.
job done, let them do the job and call it a day. That's less
Supervisors
overhead. You
watching
should
over
be
you.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes no sense to me.
We're
Yeah.
Whatever.
getting the job done.
Yeah, there's a lot
And
of
like-
We're still making
industries
money.
there's a lot of industries that are rushing back and not accommodating. So it's great that your particular situation
That's
is
true.
working out. Because some
Yeah,
folks are like,
it's-
fuck that pandemic nonsense, we back. So,
I
not great.
my old company kind of felt like they did a situation like that, and I was like, oh god, I could not go from 100% work from home to just back like it's
Ew.
nothing happened. Like we're just gonna pretend that
It's easier. It's just easier for folks to be like, let's just keep it moving. Nothing ever happened.
Well, and also I accidentally said pre-pandemic. We're not post-pandemic. We're not.
No, just before times and now times. That's
the
it.
before times and the
And now that's it. There's nothing else. Yeah.
BT and NT.
Yeah. But anyways, is there anything that we did not quite discuss before we close out? So we're coming up on hour and a half.
That's a lot of really good information. I learned what UC was. I learned what IBD was. I'm sure a lot of listeners are, have some similarities, but don't exactly understand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
no one actually understands. We're all just making it up as we go. But yeah, we talked about lifting at some point, right? I know the lifting is in the podcast name. Yeah, I'll just sprinkle the little tidbit of how I got into lifting as the closer for the
Sure.
bring it back home. But when I was in college, my freshman year, I decided to run cross country.
Disgusting. Okay,
all the teams were walk-on teams. We were a D3 school. And I was having body image issues. And so the only thing I knew to do, I was like, runners are
cardio.
skinny. I'll do cardio.
Oh my gosh.
As it turns out, my body not equipped to run. Just not.
For long distances. It's not just long distances.
Yeah, no, that cheetah gonna get me. We are not outrunning the cheetah. I'm dead on the plains, for sure. And so I started running. That was a fall sport in college. So we had to get to campus before school started for fall term. And so volleyball, women's volleyball is a sport that's also a fall sport. One of the seniors on that team, who I was like, man, that girl's really pretty. And she's hot. She also seems like a badass. Towards the end of cross country season, she sees me in the locker room and is like, hey, you should join women's water polo. I play women's water polo. You should join the team. She's like, we start practice this day, 4 p.m. Be on the pool deck. Okay, I know how to swim. Sure. I'd never heard of water polo. The only time I heard of water polo is when a family friend, when I was in high school, considered starting a water polo team at his school, and the school asked, "How do we get the horses in the pool?" So that was my intro into water polo. What was not told to me, and maybe I could have Googled this, sure, perhaps. And I had seen the men's team play during the fall season, but when we started practicing in the winter season, no one told me that water polo was like if you mixed basketball with drowning.
Nice.
It's like, what could we do to make basketball more intense? Water. Play it in the water.
Not to mention like the wrestling that happens underwater, right? I hear y'all like kick and scratch.
Oh no, it's brutal. Okay, women's water polo way more violent than men's water polo, because so the women, we wear these like high cut suits because the neck of the suit comes up to here, and they're super tight. Like when you buy your suit at the beginning of season, you like buy your suit like 2 sizes down.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Because you are packed into this little suit like a sausage, because you don't want people to be able to grab your suit off of you.
Oh
so the tighter it is on your body, the less people can pull it off of you. Jeez. Right? And they're also really high cut. So you got a lot of like coochie lips fighting over the front of the suit. Like, and your butt, like there is no chance in hell that your ass stays in the suit. That shit is up your crack or over one cheek or the other. Like it is. So here you are now you have to play basketball underwater, essentially. And it was hard. It was very hard. We practiced for 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. One of my 4 seasons playing, we won a total of like 3 games ever.
Ever.
I scored 8 goals total in my entire career. You can look me up. I'm pretty sure my bio and like stats are still on the Caltech website from when I played. But I loved it because it was like 2 hours a day where I didn't have to do anything other than like try to breathe and like work out. Like that was it. It was like, you don't have to do physics. You don't have to do chemistry. You don't have to be sad over the fact that you're failing all your classes. Here's this escape that you can do. And guess what? You also get to be hot and tan. Awesome. Love that. And so the senior, I was like, man. And then after that point, I was like, well, I can't quit. So I ended up playing all 4 years. I started my senior year, which was a rude awakening because I had never played a full quarter before. So water polo is divided into quarters. You know, you get your sort of timeouts or whatever. But I remember senior year was like our first game. I started 4 minutes in. I was gassed. I'm not very good at water polo. I started because I was a senior and like somewhat decent, but like in the grand scheme of water polo players, I was bad. And it's like 4 minutes and I'm like, coach, like it's like, tag me out. And he's like,
put me out, coach.
And he like looks at me, he's like, no, Monica, you're a starter. You got to play the full first quarter. And I was like, I can't do that. I was like, what do you mean play the full first quarter? I've never played a full quarter in my life. And he's like, now you will. Have fun. Go on. And like, it's just like, just like wheezing the whole time because I played like the set position right in front of the goal, which is where you put your like biggest, most powerful offensive player. I am 5'6". And at the time, 150 pounds. And some of the girls we were playing against were like, it was like the casting call for Xena Warrior Princess. Like these women were like 5'11", glorious thighs, just beautiful, magnificent Amazonian women. And I'm like, I am a hobbit. Yeah. Like that woman, she's going to overpower me. She's going to drown me. I do not stand a chance. The only thing I can do is be more violent. And so I was like I was really good at grabbing the bottom of the suit at the coochie level and just like dragging her up.
Wow.
Or
That's
like
great.
and I had
So that's why you
friends.
started lifting, to be stronger, since you're just not bigger.
Yep. And the senior who got me into it, her husband was a power lifter. And so in the off season, she would be in the gym with him and he'd just be like schlepping big weights. And I was like, huh. And then I started deadlifting and very easily was able to deadlift like 185 pounds like that.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, this isn't hard. I can do that. I'm a deadlift. That seems
Transfer
easy.
of energy.
Yeah. And so that's just what I stuck with. And then thought, oh, maybe after graduation, I'll play in a rec league for water polo. And I was like, no. I'm a power lift. There's a whole community of people who just do this. This is a sport. This is real.
Yep. That's it. So you just filled in your 2 hours of just do something where I move.
Yeah.
With powerlifting.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's what I stuck with. So
here
we are today.
TLDR, Monica, why'd you start lifting? So I could drag bitches.
Boom. That is it.
I wanted to get better at the dragging.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk on how to drag bitches.
Yes. Lift more weights. Do the deadlifts, grab by the coochie lips. That's it. 2-step process.
Real talk. Welcome to women's water polo.
Wow. I had no clue. I was Googling. This is
cool.
some great late night. I should be sleeping, but I'm going to Google something random right here. That's it. That's what I'll be doing tonight. Great. Thanks for keeping me up. Well, if someone happens to want to find you and they listen to this podcast and say, this bitch is nuts, I love her, where could they find you?
They can find me on my Instagram at Menlo. That's MENLOW. You can also find me on TikTok at Monica Enlow. No spaces, just my name.
Just
because
vibes.
that just seemed like a reasonable thing to do, is to associate my actual identity with my TikTok profile. So that's me. I don't know, to find me on LinkedIn if you're looking for a job. But that's where I'm at. That's boom. We're gonna drop the mic on that one. That's where I exist.
I love it.
Sounds good. Disabled girls out.
Disabled girls out.